In the early hours of July 16, 1945, in the remote desert of New Mexico, the sky erupted in light. A searing flash, followed by a rising mushroom cloud, marked the detonation of the first nuclear weapon in human history. It was codenamed Trinity, a name chosen by physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer, possibly inspired by the poetry of John Donne. In that moment, the theoretical became terrifyingly real. Mankind had harnessed the fundamental forces of the universe, and nothing would be the same again. This was not just the culmination of a wartime project. It was a moment that split history in two, before Trinity and after. This is the DEFCON warning system. If you find these articles helpful or informative, please like, subscribe, and comment so that others can find them as well. The race to develop an atomic weapon began with fear. In 1938, German scientists discovered nuclear fission, splitting the nucleus of an atom to release energy. The implications were immediately clear. If a chain reaction could be sustained and controlled, it could produce an explosion far beyond conventional explosives. In August 1939, physicists Leo Szilard and Albert Einstein co-signed a letter to U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt, warning that Nazi Germany might be developing such a weapon. The alarm set off a chain of events that would lead to the creation of the Manhattan Project, a top-secret research initiative to beat Hitler to the bomb. By the time the project was fully underway in 1942, it was clear Germany was no longer ahead in nuclear research. But the project pressed on, with the United States now focused on defeating Japan, and increasingly on asserting post-war dominance in a world where the Soviet Union was becoming a rival superpower. The Manhattan Project was unlike anything the world had seen. It brought together the best minds in physics, chemistry, engineering, and metallurgy under one military command. Directed by General Leslie Groves and scientifically led by J. Robert Oppenheimer, the project spanned multiple sites: Los Alamos, New Mexico, design and assembly of the bomb; Oak Ridge, Tennessee, enrichment of uranium-235; Hanford, Washington, production of plutonium-239. The project employed over 130,000 people, cost around $2 billion at the time, over $30 billion today, and operated under intense secrecy. Few even knew what they were working on. The scientific challenges were immense: refining fissile materials, understanding nuclear physics, building mechanisms to trigger and contain a reaction, all without knowing if it would even work. Two bomb designs were pursued. One used uranium and was simple enough to be deployed without testing. This would become the little boy bomb dropped on Hiroshima. The other used plutonium, a man-made element that required a far more complicated implosion mechanism. This design, called the gadget during testing, had never been proven. It had to be tested first. The test site, Alamogordo Bombing Range in southern New Mexico, was chosen for its remoteness and flat terrain. Scientists constructed a 100-foot steel tower, atop which the gadget was placed. As the date approached, predictions varied wildly. Some feared the device might fizzle. Others wondered if it might ignite the atmosphere. At 5:29:45 a.m. on July 16, 1945, the world changed. A blinding light brighter than the sun lit up the desert. The shockwave shattered windows 100 miles away. A mushroom cloud rose over 7.5 miles into the sky. The bomb's yield was approximately 21 kilotons of TNT, far greater than anyone had ever seen. One witness, physicist Kenneth Bainbridge, said simply, "Now we are all sons of bitches." Oppenheimer, more poetic, later recalled a line from the Hindu scripture Bhagavad Gita: "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." The test was deemed a success. Less than a month later, on August 6th and 9th, the U.S. dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, killing over 100,000 people instantly, and many more in the weeks and years that followed. Japan surrendered days later, ending World War II. The Trinity test had validated the bomb's effectiveness, but it also ushered in the Cold War. The Soviet Union accelerated its own nuclear program, successfully testing its first bomb in 1949. The world plunged into an arms race that would define global politics for decades. Today, over 13,000 nuclear weapons exist across the globe. And it all began with Trinity. The site of the Trinity explosion remains part of history. In the desert, fragments of glassy green rock, called trinitite, can still be found, created when the sand fused under the heat of the explosion. The area is now a National Historic Landmark, open to the public only twice a year. But Trinity's true legacy is not geological, it's philosophical. The test proved what science could achieve when fueled by fear, war, and ambition. It gave humanity the power to destroy itself, and a responsibility to ensure it never does. As nuclear tensions resurface in the modern era, and more nations pursue weapons programs, the lessons of Trinity grow ever more urgent. The power that lit the desert sky in 1945 has never left us. It simply waits. This is the DEFCON warning system.